Imagine for a second that you are the president of the United States.
Okay.
You're in a foreign country, right? You've just wrapped up a major NATO summit, and suddenly there is this highly credible threat against your life.
Which is terrifying.
Right, and your state-of-the-art security apparatus decides that the only way to get you out safely is to abandon the primary Air Force One on the tarmac.
Wow.
Yeah, they publicly board a decoy plane, and then they secretly extract you from the airport by hiding you inside a commercial airplane catering cart.
A catering card. That is, wow.
Literally a catering container. Welcome to News Binge on Binge Radio.
Glad to be here.
So today's deep dive into our stack of sources is fundamentally about what happens when the standard operating procedures of our world completely break down.
Yeah, and it's an incredibly vivid place to start. But honestly, that catering card image really is the perfect metaphor for the material we're looking at today.
How so?
Well, when you look at the sheer volume of news right now, I mean, from physical disasters and financial panics to microscopic health tech and bizarre cultural shifts, it can feel like this chaotic blur.
Oh, totally. Just overwhelming.
Right. But there's a very clear pattern underneath it all, which is that systems everywhere are buckling under unprecedented stress.
And our mission today is to decode that stress for you, the listener. We're going to connect the dots across, 5 distinct stops. World news, finance, technology, medicine, and entertainment.
It's a packed journey.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. Going back to that catering cart in Ankara, Turkey. President Trump actually had to be transferred to a military C-32A jet hidden inside this catering container due to an Iranian threat.
While reporters on the decoy plane were kept completely in the dark, right?
Exactly, completely in the dark. So I have to ask you, does this level of elaborate deception mean that traditional diplomatic security protocols are, just failing in the face of modern threats?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it means they are no longer sufficient on their own. I mean, traditional security relies on overwhelming force and predictable perimeters.
Right, standard protocols.
Exactly. But we are in an era of asymmetrical threats. When an adversary doesn't play by the established rules of statecraft, the response has to become improvisational.
So you end up with the most powerful person on the planet sneaking out in a food container.
Yeah. It highlights how brittle our geopolitical frameworks have really become.
And that brittleness is showing up everywhere, especially in diplomatic relations. Like, looking at the sources out of the Middle East, we are seeing a massive public policy rift regarding the U.S.-led Board of Peace's 15-point Gaza plan.
Right, the 15-point plan.
Yeah. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has explicitly rejected it. And the friction here seems to be, entirely about the sequence of events.
Sequence is everything in diplomacy. I mean, the U.S. plan envisions a phased reciprocal process. So Hamas hands over weapons, and simultaneously, Israeli troops pull back.
Like a trust fall exercise.
Exactly. It's a massive trust fall. But Netanyahu is stating that Israel will not withdraw its forces until Hamas is genuinely disarmed first.
So it's a standoff over who takes the first geopolitical risk.
Precisely.
And yet, despite this very public rejection of a major U.S. peace roadmap, President Trump is quoted in the sources saying their relationship remains, quote, very good.
It feels, contradictory.
It is contradictory, but it reflects that same improvisational diplomacy we just talked about. The old rules where public disagreement meant a severed alliance, those are gone.
Yeah.
We're navigating a landscape where extreme friction is just the baseline now.
Which honestly mirrors what the Earth itself is doing right now.
Yeah.
The physical planet is quite literally fracturing and storming alongside our political systems.
The physical shocks have been intense.
Unbelievable. In Western Colombia, a devastating 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck at a depth of 103 kilometers. Pereira was hit incredibly hard. We're looking at least 132 people dead, nearly 500 injured, and buildings collapsed.
It's tragic. And at the exact same time, on the other side of the planet, Beijing is bracing for Typhoon Dolphin. They're expecting a third of their average annual rainfall, upwards of 150 millimeters in some districts, to drop in a single 24-hour period.
Those numbers are staggering. But we really have to look at the mechanism driving this.
Okay, what is it?
Well, the sources provide a vital piece of macroclimate data. The world's oceans just hit a record-high July temperature of nearly 21 degrees Celsius outside the polar regions.
I read that, but help me connect the dots here. How does a fraction of a degree in the ocean turn into a catastrophic storm over a city like Beijing?
Think of the ocean as a giant thermal battery. When the water temperature rises to nearly 21 degrees, it's storing a colossal amount of thermal energy.
Right.
Warm water evaporates faster, which pumps massive amounts of moisture into the atmosphere. But it also acts as a thermal engine that supercharges storm systems.
Oh, wow.
So a typhoon pulling energy from a record warm ocean isn't just going to rain. It's going to unleash an unnatural density of water in a hyper-condensed time frame.
The physical Earth is basically trying to disperse this excess energy.
Exactly. And human infrastructure just happens to be in the way.
So whether it's a 7.4 earthquake in Colombia, a supercharged typhoon in Beijing, or even, the environmental disaster we're seeing with that sanctioned Russian tanker.
The Caroline Bazengi.
Yeah, spilling a massive amount of oil off the coast of Oman. The physical world is just incredibly unstable right now.
It is.
And when global systems, both physical and diplomatic, start shaking like this, that anxiety immediately looks for a place to hide. Which leads us into our second stop, the financial markets. The ripple effect here is instantaneous, especially in energy.
Geopolitics and oil are practically the same conversation at this point.
Exactly, because with those tensions in the Middle East and fading hopes for a deal over the Strait of Hormuz, the energy market reacted violently. Front-month Brent crude oil jumped 4.99% to $87.72 a barrel.
A huge spike.
Huge. And the broader stock market felt that heat immediately. Equities slumped. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ fell, and Intel actually dropped 4.1% after announcing a $15 billion share sale.
Which is significant.
Right. But while everyone is selling stocks, we're seeing an absolute frenzy in the bullion market. Gold just surged over 3%, hitting its highest point since mid-June at $4,371.93 an ounce.
That is a staggering valuation for gold. It reflects a profound systemic fear.
The ultimate financial panic room. And the sources point to a few obvious triggers, right? A contraction in the U.S. jobs market, where employers actually cut jobs in July, combined with massive ETF dip buying.
Yes.
But I have to stop here because I'm genuinely confused by the market's reaction.
Okay, what's the disconnect for you?
Well, according to Morningstar, inflation swaps, which are basically the market's bets on future inflation, they're showing minimal pass-through from these commodity spikes. And the markets are actually expecting the Federal Reserve to be dovish, meaning they probably won't keep interest rates high. So if inflation isn't expected to spiral and the Fed is going to be accommodating, why is there such aggressive panic buying of gold? Aren't investors getting mixed signals?
It's a brilliant question because by the traditional textbook rules, you're absolutely right. The math doesn't fully support the panic.
Exactly.
But the traditional rules of the gold market are being overridden right now. It's not just a reaction to U.S. jobs data or domestic rate expectations anymore. Gold is absorbing the collective anxiety of the entire planet.
Okay, unpack that. Who is actually driving this, if not U.S. investors reacting to the Fed?
Take a look at China. Chinese investors have been buying gold ETFs for 16 straight trading days.
Wow, 16 days.
Yeah, to hedge against their own domestic economic uncertainties. Simultaneously, the Chinese central bank is accumulating massive reserves, adding global hedge funds, boosting their bullish bets.
So it's everyone everywhere.
Exactly. Gold has stopped being a simple inflation hedge. It has become a barometer for global stress. When the Strait of Hormuz is threatened, when earthquakes hit, when diplomatic norms fail, money just gets scared.
So the panic room is getting crowded because the whole neighborhood feels unsafe, regardless of what the local weather report says. That makes total sense.
Exactly.
But while money is hiding in gold, future growth is hiding in artificial intelligence, which is our third stop today, tech. And according to our sources, this new AI gold rush is creating some of the most terrifying security holes we've ever seen.
The scale of deployment is dizzying. We are moving way faster than our ability to secure the technology.
Just look at the sheer expansion. OpenAI just launched the GPT 5.6 model family. They even built a specific model, GPT 5.6 Cymer, dedicated entirely to vulnerability research.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Russia is aggressively pushing a Starlink rival called Rasvet, aiming for 292 satellites by 2027 and up to 924 by 2035. And AI is moving right into those satellite operations.
We also have companies like Anthropic planning to watermark AI-generated text just to tell what's real.
Right. And that leads to a deeply unsettling survey from NetFoundry. They polled CISOs and CTOs. Literally 100% of them, every single tech leader surveyed, said AI is expanding their attack surface.
Every single one.
And only 15% are confident their current tools can protect them. So here's where it gets really interesting. We are building advanced AI tools like GPT 5.6 Cyber specifically to fix cybersecurity, yet every single security leader says AI is making them more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Isn't this exactly like building a highly advanced burglar alarm that accidentally unlocks all the windows in your house?
That analogy is terrifyingly accurate. And what's fascinating here is the insight from the CEO of NetFoundry, Galil Zeno, in the sources. He explains exactly why those windows are unlocking.
Okay, why?
She points out that the core problem is no longer human error. It is machine-to-machine connectivity.
Wait, what does that actually mean in practice?
So for the last decade, we spent billions of dollars building cybersecurity infrastructure around human identity. Passwords, two-factor authentication, biometric scans.
Right, making sure I am who I say I am.
Exactly. We built giant firewalls designed to stop a human from logging in where they shouldn't. But today, the blind spot is non-human. It's AI agents, API endpoints, and models interacting directly with each other.
So you're saying instead of a human typing a password, we now have two AI programs basically whispering to each other in the background, and our old firewalls don't know how to check their IDs.
Precisely. These AI agents are initiating actions, moving data, and making autonomous decisions across networks without a human ever touching a keyboard. We've created an entirely new, unmonitored digital ecosystem.
That is legitimately frightening. The machines are having conversations we can't secure.
Yes.
And this takes a really personal turn when we look at our fourth topic today, health. Because this machine-to-machine vulnerability isn't just about banking data or Russian satellites anymore. This tech is intimately tracking our biology.
We're seeing the total merger of digital tracking and the human body.
Right. Abbott just partnered with Google Health to pair their Lingo Bio wearable, which is a continuous glucose monitor you stick on your arm, with Google's AI health coach.
Right, so an AI is now continually monitoring your blood sugar.
Yeah. And we have to acknowledge the incredible preventative power of this. The sources point out that over 115 million American adults have prediabetes, and 8 in 10 are completely unaware of it.
Because it's invisible. You don't feel prediabetes until it crosses the threshold. So having an AI monitor could theoretically catch a massive health crisis before it happens.
Exactly. And speaking of incredible biological interventions, the sources outline a huge win for precision medicine from Intermountain Health. It's a new drug called daraxonrasib.
A real game changer.
It is. It targets specific KRAS mutations found in over 90% of pancreatic cancers. It has doubled the survival time for metastatic pancreatic cancer patients from 6.7 months to 13.2 months.
That is massive for a cancer that is notoriously hard to treat.
It's incredible. It's now available at 10 Intermountain hospitals through an expanded access protocol.
It's a profound triumph of targeted, data-driven science.
But and here's where the story of health takes a very sharp turn. We have these incredible breakthroughs, but at the exact same time, the public policy surrounding medicine is facing major shifts.
Yes, it is.
We have a major policy update out of the White House. President Trump has signed an executive order cutting the routine childhood vaccine schedule down to 11 core immunizations.
This is a massive shift in federal health policy.
It really is. The order also urges that the MMR vaccine be split into separate shots and directs the Justice Department to challenge state vaccination laws.
Right.
Now, presenting the facts impartially from the sources, established medical groups like the American Academy of Pediatrics, alongside the manufacturer Merck, state there is no published evidence to justify splitting the MMR shot.
And they warn it could cause delays.
Right, they warn about dangerous delays. So looking at this objectively, when executive government policy directly contradicts established medical groups and pharmaceutical manufacturers, how does this impact the everyday healthcare decisions of the listener?
It places an immense cognitive load directly onto the individual. What we're witnessing is the collapse of unified institutional guidance.
Right.
When the government and the medical establishment offer conflicting guidance, the safety net disappears. The burden of critical thinking shifts entirely onto the individual parent or patient.
You essentially have to become your own primary care director and risk assessor.
Exactly. And if you tie that back to the Abbott and Google story, the macro trend becomes clear. The responsibility for your biology is being shifted from systemic institutions directly to the individual patient.
Wow.
Whether you are managing a continuous glucose monitor or navigating conflicting vaccine guidance, you are increasingly on your own.
That is an exhausting amount of pressure for the average person to carry. You're expected to dodge geopolitical fallout, understand the global bullion market, protect your data from unmonitored AI agents, and direct your own complex medical care.
It's a lot.
Which is exactly why we have to look at our final topic, entertainment. Because after covering all this heavy news, we need to look at how society is reflecting these times through culture. And the headlines from our sources today are wildly eclectic.
Culture is always the clearest mirror of our collective psychology.
Well, this mirror is showing some strange reflections. I'll just lay out 3 distinct updates we have. First, the trial of a former gang leader accused in the death of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur is finally getting underway in Las Vegas.
After decades.
Right. Second, actor Michael Sheen is speaking out about his new documentary regarding the historic burying of toxic chemicals. And third, and I love this one, a zoo in Florida has actually hired a full-time acupuncture therapist to treat its animals.
The zoo acupuncturist really is the peak of wellness culture.
It is. So what does this all mean? We have decades-old, unsolved murders finally seeing a courtroom, actors tackling toxic waste, and zoo animals getting premium alternative medicine. Does this eclectic mix suggest our culture is simultaneously trying to heal the past while indulging in total absurdity in the present?
This raises an important question, right? Human culture always seeks balance. When the macro world, the earthquakes, wars, AI threats, when that feels entirely out of our control, we experience a deep sense of vulnerability.
Right, we feel helpless.
So to cope with that, we hyper-focus on things we actually can resolve.
Oh, interesting.
We can't fix the geopolitical standoff in Gaza, but we can finally close a historic cold case. We can't stop the global climate from supercharging typhoons, but we can't clean up a specific local chemical spill.
And we certainly can't guarantee our own health in a confusing medical landscape, but we can ensure a captive zoo animal is living its most relaxed, stress-free life.
Exactly. We seek out these easily definable problems because they offer a sense of agency that the real world is currently denying us.
We find comfort in the absurd because it feels manageable. And I think that beautifully synthesizes the entire journey we've taken today.
Absolutely. Today we've really seen how vulnerability is the unifying theme here.
Everywhere.
Whether it's the physical vulnerability of Colombia and Beijing, the economic vulnerability driving that massive gold rush, the digital vulnerability of machine-to-machine AI networks, or the biological vulnerability of our own metabolic health.
We are all exposed to these shifting extremes, and that actually leaves me with a final lingering thought for you, the listener, to mull over before we go.
Let's hear it.
Let's combine 2 of the most intimate concepts we discussed today. Consider those Abbott and Google continuous glucose monitors actively tracking the blood sugar, sleep cycles, and real-time stress levels of millions of people.
Okay.
Now, pair that incredibly personal biological data with the NetFoundry cybersecurity report. If 100% of top security officers are terrified of unmonitored machine-to-machine blind spots in our AI networks.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right. What happens when your deeply personal biological data becomes just another piece of data flowing through that vulnerable, AI-driven, machine-to-machine network?
That is a terrifying thought.
If the firewalls can't stop 2 AI programs from whispering to each other, could our own biology become the ultimate cybersecurity breach?
It really is the next great frontier of risk.
Something to keep in mind the next time your smartwatch tells you your heart rate is elevated. Thank you so much for tuning into this deep dive. We appreciate you spending your time with News Binge on Binge Radio.
Thanks for listening.
Stay insanely curious, keep connecting those dots, and remember to always keep questioning the world around you. We'll catch you next time.